Well, hello, good evening once again, and welcome to Still the Show, Baton 365's podcast. It's been a while since we've been on, hasn't it, Gareth?
It has indeed, too long.
It has indeed, says Gareth, who's been on to me saying, why haven't we actually had a show lately? And he's quite right, because really we should be having this a little bit more regularly. It's just Gareth and I tonight, because our partner in crime, Jamie, who's usually on the show, is in France at the moment on holiday, annual family holiday, probably playing that old trick. I don't know if you played it in France, where you turn up the Englishman, on a campsite and say, "Oh, how do you play this game?" Then you turn up as if you never played the game before, and surprise the French
ball in a
with
carrier bag.
Yeah, something like that. Now behind me, you might be able to see my new emotional banner. And I was just saying to Gareth earlier on that we're going to bring this properly to Sand Bay, to the interregionals this year. And unlike previous years, maybe try and do a bit of a live show on the Friday night. What do you reckon, Gareth? Do you think anybody's going to be sober enough to join in on that one?
Be interesting. I'm sure some opinions will be free-flowing.
Yeah, usual thing about, who do you think's going to win and stuff like that, which no doubt everybody's going to have an opinion on, although no one's ever objective, are they, Gareth, when you ask them
no, definitely
that
not.
question? No, definitely not. Let's just start the show off, shall we, Gareth, with maybe a little umpiring question, something that came up at the weekend. I was playing in Chiltern in the regional veterans qualifier for the Champion of Champions, and we're playing live games, just for 45 minutes, because we need to get through the day, and there's quite
Timed
a few games.
games.
Did I say live?
You did.
I did. Okay. Well, I meant timed. We're live at the moment, and I meant time games. Anyway, 45 minutes we were playing, Gareth, and just as I threw my last ball, we're 3-9 down, I think, or 3-10 down actually at the time. Just as I threw my last ball and it came juddering to a halt to take a point, the whistle got blown. Now, what's the ruling when that happens, Gareth? Talk me through that.
So,
given that there's one extra end in this particular tournament once the whistle's gone.
Okay, so in timed games, as soon as your last ball has stopped moving,
yeah,
that is the start of the next end. So in your case, if you've thrown your last ball, it's stopped. Then a split second later, the whistle blows. You would get your next end plus one more end if you're only playing the one extra end. So European and Worlds would be, it's always an hour plus two ends for doubles. So in your case, if that was at a Worlds or Europeans, ball stop, whistle's blown, in that order, you'd have that end plus two more because you've already started the next end.
Okay, so if you're an umpire in this situation and you're watching a game, I mean, obviously you can see when that ball has come to a halt. In a situation, even in a European Championships where there might not be an umpire watching, it would it not just come down to the players to agree that a ball had actually stopped rolling? Because, I mean, it is slightly unusual, like the choreography of a whistle suddenly getting blown literally seconds after a ball has come to a stop. But, theoretically it can happen, can't it?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, it's the last ball stopping is probably your only definite, if that makes sense. You can't have it on an agreement of points because you could have, actually, I'm going to delay a little bit more to see if you're in the lead. You can't really have it on the throwing of the jack the next end. You can't have it on circles being drawn because you've got a minute, haven't you, to do each of those things. Whereas the last ball stopping, that's a definite bang, it's happened. When you spoke to me regarding this, it wasn't has the ball stopped, has the ball not stopped? It was what is the rule? Yeah. I've only seen it a couple of times in European Championships. Did it stop, did it not? And the players came to an agreement, and you know yourself at that level, no one's going to pull a fast one, are they, at that level? So
no.
But yeah, that is the rule.
Yeah, because one of the things that was put to me was, well, what happens if I wanted to measure? Because normally, I mean, the reality is obviously if there's still a ball to come, you could measure, couldn't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and that would just be added on to the time. And the whistle, if you'd done that measure, might have blown before the final ball was thrown. That would affect it, wouldn't it? But
absolutely, but that's still in that end, isn't it? Whereas the ball stops, you're now in a different end. So, any measuring after that ball stopped or any disagreement of points or agreement of points doesn't come into it. You've already started the next end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's been interesting for me this season, Gareth. I mean, you as an umpire would have seen probably more of this than me, but we have actually played quite a lot of games, probably more than I've seen or experienced for many years, have been timed. It's more of a feature because we're using Swiss system, aren't we, quite a bit at national level. Um, it does come into play. It's a very different way of playing, isn't it, actually, at the end of the day?
Yeah, we probably used it maybe a little bit more than previous years, but for me, we both said it before that when we're talking about our qualifiers, we need to try and replicate whatever's happening in the competitions, getting players used to playing those time games that we play in the CEP and the FIPJP tournament. So I think it's a good thing. I think it has to be done if you're playing Swiss, and we're using Swiss a lot more now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. And I actually think that one of the problems we've had in the past was that we weren't used to that, were we, in England, playing that too much. And we were turning up to international tournaments where it was like very normal to do that. And it just felt sometimes we were a little bit unnerved by playing that because you're just not used to playing it. I mean, there is a sort of a bit of a temptation to look at your watch when you're playing, isn't there? Or to ask the coach how's things going.
I think for me, obviously being to a couple of European championships and umpiring towards the top end of the game, the top players don't care if it's timed or not. They just play their game.
Yeah.
They're playing to win. If they don't get to 13, they want to be in a position where they are leading. I think the only time you really get players asking is your less experienced players maybe, or also if you're behind quite a bit, people tend to ask me, how long's left. But if you're leading or you're an experienced player, very, very, very rare that I'm asked how long's remaining. Just play your game.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, Gareth. Well, there's been quite a lot going on since we last did an episode of Steal the Show, and one of the biggest things that's happened, of course, was the European singles, doubles and mixed doubles in Lorca in Spain. Now, you had the honour of being the head of delegation for that particular championship. What did you feel about the audience and organisation, pitches themselves, the whole setup of that particular tournament? What would you say was your overall feel of that?
Extremely good.
Yeah.
You go to a CEP event, you know what you're getting. It's going to be well organised. If there is any issues, they're sorted quickly. Venues are good. When you think back to, I did the same competition for the Worlds last year in Rome, and it was night and day. Really well organised, ran very, very smoothly. We actually got ahead of schedule, a couple of points during the competition. It was indoors, which was lovely because it was silly hot. I think it's basically a small version of like an exhibition centre. So the terrains were good, really good setup. Food just across the road, like in another exhibition hall just across the courtyard. It was a great, very well run tournament, and without sounding almost rude, it's what I expect from the CEP. They organise great tournaments, and they're always a real privilege to be associated with.
Yeah, I mean, I got the impression watching from afar that was really superbly organised. There's always been this issue, isn't there? We've just had it with our young players in Santa Susana about playing outside. Now, the elements have a massive impact, don't they? And the way you control it is if you're inside, really. I mean, obviously, I've been in places inside where it gets very dusty and also very hot. But to me, it's just more controlled, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? And
when I did Rome last year, and when you think back to like me and you being at Santa Susana last year, it was a year ago, wasn't it? And
yeah,
we were out there and it was ridiculously hot. And again, in Rome, it was really hot. I'm not pro or against indoors. I think indoors has advantages, disadvantages. The one thing I will probably say about it being indoors is the consistency.
Yeah.
I'm playing X team and it's lovely and sunny. I'm playing X team and it's raining. Or like it happened to, was it Our Ladies, where it literally started torrential halfway through a few years back. But if you go indoors, then you've got the issues, like you've said, of really dusty. Sometimes it can be silly hot in there, no fresh air. So that can have its own issues. The place where we were in Lorca was bang on. Good temperature, wasn't too cold, wasn't too hot. It was dusty, but not massively any more than you'd get playing anywhere. You know, it was, it was a good venue.
Great. Well, hats off to the CEP once again for putting on such a superb tournament. And they've set the sort of gold standard, haven't they, really?
100%.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just remind ourselves how this whole thing works out. We've got singles, doubles, and mixed doubles, and we're allowed to take 4 players,
Yeah.
two female, 2 male. At this particular tournament, earlier on in the year, I think it would have been April, we had our qualifying series for both our men and our women, and we had a weekend, didn't we, where we found the female doubles winners and the male doubles winners, and it was those that prevailed during those 2 competitions that were basically selected to play. That's the way it's been done, hasn't it, for the last few years? Do you think that's the best way, the only way we can do that, or is there another way we can do it? I mean, it's a relatively
I
simple way
don't.
to do it.
Yeah, I don't think it's ideal, but it's probably because of the whole singles and the mixed issue. Unless you're qualifying as a 4, how are you going to do that? You know, it's
Basically, it's not possible to hold a singles championship, a mixed doubles championship, and then the gender doubles, and then you're going to get different people are going to prevail, aren't you? Different players that are going to prevail in that. So it would then become a selection, which is not something that players are too keen on in our country. But let's not open up that old chestnut again, Gareth, because we could be talking about that for a very long time, couldn't we? So just remind us, Gareth, who was playing for us in Lorca.
So we had the 2 females were Claire Geddes.
Yep.
And Amy Rickman.
Yep.
Claire leads our junior section, and Amy was 14 at the time of going out there, so probably the youngest player by a long way out there. And then our males were Dean Ashby and Kai Sheffield.
Just pause a second on Amy playing in that tournament. That's a remarkable achievement for her to have qualified for that. And I genuinely can't recall a situation where we've sent somebody under 18 ever to a senior tournament before. I think I'm right about that.
No, we have at the Women's World Championships in Turkey. Emma Longstaff was a junior when she went, but literally just a junior, 17 I think she was at the time. But yeah, she was definitely under 18 at the time.
Oh, right. So that's good. I didn't recall that. I remember Emma very well. It's a great player, and one day I do hope to see her back playing again.
Be good.
It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? See Emma back on the pitch again. Emma, if you're watching this, we need you back. Come back. But that's just me wanted to see the very best players competing in our national competitions. Okay, so, and the coaches, of course, one of the things we always say, Gareth, isn't it? You've said it many times, is that we go as a team, and that team involves the players and the officials. So who was there coaching for us on this occasion?
So for the gents, we had Roland Jones.
Yeah.
For me, probably the best coach we have in this country. How he sees the game, his experience, his longevity in the game. For me, he's the best coach. And then first time coaching, Jason White went out there for the ladies. I approached Jason and said, would he consider it? And his knowledge of the game, obviously one of our top players, and not only knowledge of the game, but the respect he has in the game from other countries, I thought would be beneficial to 2 people that have never qualified. So he worked with Claire and Amy.
Very good. I think that's... I'm not a great fan of players being distracted, being coaches, Gareth. I've got to say that. But when you're in a situation when you need someone who's going to make a very effective contribution, there's no doubt that someone like Jason's going to be able to do that. He's learned so much in the game. He's been in the game since he was a very young player. So sometimes, I suppose, when, we need to find a very good coach, and we're looking at who's available and who's got the experience and everything else that's required to do that job, then naturally we are going to probably look at players, aren't we?
Yeah, I just thought it was a good fit.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, it was a strange scenario because Amy and Claire aren't massively in the same social group as Dean and Kai, whereas to start off with, it felt like I was almost taking 2-2s.
Okay.
And Jason bridged that gap. Obviously, he's Dean's son and plays with Kai and Rowley and Dean. He kind of bridged that gap a little bit. I thought he had that experience that they'd need. You got 2 competitions going on at once. So I felt confident if it was a time when I was watching the boys or supporting the boys, Jason had their backs 100%, and he did a top job.
great. That it very much felt that was what was going on there, Gareth. And of course, you were enjoying yourself streaming a lot of games. That was quite a marathon for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. Wasn't quite as bad as when I did Rome because the men's and women's were being done simultaneously.
Yeah.
We did have Amy Geddes out there as well doing a little bit of streaming.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was in that dry atmosphere being indoors and streaming. I do it because I want people at home to be invested, but it's not something I massively enjoy doing.
Yeah, you keep saying that, Gareth, but you're very good at it, and it is very important that we get that coverage to showcase our players and also make sure PE members who, after all, are making a contribution, aren't they, to these players going. I mean, the players make their own agreed financial contribution, but the balance is met by Petanque England, and because Petanque England is primarily reliant on members' subscriptions for its funding, naturally follows that those members are supporting those players. So I think that is
and it's
important.
also, I just think it's a good advert as well. Like we had Amy's grandma on there, and she's not a Petanque person, but she wanted to see her granddaughter play, and I think that's fantastic if we can link the home and away.
Wasn't there a point in that streaming? It was at Lorca, wasn't it, when you were like doing a name check on where people were watching from, and you were getting some really surprising answers.
Yeah, it was.
Where was it? Where was it?
It was the last game, and just asked where people were watching from. Because my wife, who's not many people in Petanque nowadays would know my wife, Louise, she's not a Petanque player, but she likes to watch the streams. So I was saying and I come from the fantastic city that is Milton Keynes. And I knew we had Charlie and Zoe watching from Mexico, all over the world. So Australia, I think Luxembourg came up, a few other countries. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, we're never going to achieve broadcast quality because it's not a broadcast operation. It's a travel light, use your phone sort of operation. But the quality is good enough. I mean, which is what has revolutionised things, really, isn't it? I mean, I recall very well once someone messaged me who was about 32,000 feet up above the Atlantic Ocean going to America, and they'd got an internet connection up there, as you obviously can get on these planes these days, was watching a stream. This is really quite revolutionary in many respects in terms of getting that over. Anyway, that was very good. But just then turning to the competition itself, maybe we probably just have a quick whiz through of the competitions. Let's start with the men, maybe. So, round one, who was playing singles? Remind us, first of all.
That was, for singles was Kai Sheffield.
Yeah, Kai. Now, is that Kai's first official senior championship? Because he was certainly in Luxembourg at the qualifier.
Yeah, I believe obviously he's represented England at the junior and aspire level, but I believe it was his first adult competition.
Yeah, so
which is quite mad.
Yeah, it is really when you think about it. So first round we faced Turkey and we got off to a good start, 13-8. Now, one of the things I say about international tournaments is actually winning that first game is pretty big, isn't it, in terms of...
Definitely. And Turkey's not the easiest draw either. Turkey, they've got some really good players, so not the easiest draw for your first game. So to get that under his belt and a relatively comfortable game was good.
And no doubt you, like me, Gareth, we turn up the night before, don't we? And we sit in a room with a load of other people from all the other federations with great expectation about what this is going to pull out. The Swiss system, as you know, only pull out the first game, and then the system then rolls on from there, doesn't it?
I had to sit through 5 draws.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's a proper experience. How long did that take? Do you remember?
It was a long time, and it was in a really warm room as well. So yeah, 5 draws was a bit hardcore.
Anyway, the second round in the Swiss, you're thinking, right, I've won that game. I'm going to probably face someone else who's won, and that's going to be usually quite a tricky game. And we pulled Germany, didn't we? Out the hat. And well, over the years, I've obviously seen us play Germany on numerous occasions, and all levels of the game, and in different formats. And let's face it, we don't beat them too often, do we?
Kai was phenomenal in that game. He barely did anything wrong. It's not one I streamed, but he was unbelievable. It was a very comfortable win. And that's not belittling Germany by any stretch. Kai was just different class in that game.
From the outset, for me, he just looked very, very calm.
But that's Kai. I've known Kai
Yeah.
since more or less the first time he threw a ball. I've known Kai for many years, as have you. And that is Kai. Nothing phases him. He's one of my favourite people in Petanque, and he's just so calm. It's just a game of ball, and that's that. He's not disrespecting anyone. He's not belittling it. I've just got to play ball, and that's how he is. As the tournament went on, you could see he was getting to him a little bit. You could tell like the pressure shots, but he's just playing ball, mate, and that's all he was doing. And a lot of people could learn from that.
Yeah, and then round 3, having 1-2, you're going to face a team that's also 1-2, and out comes our friends from Portugal. Now, I don't know about you, Gareth, but my recent observations of Portugal is that they've become way, way better than I remember them being in the past. Every time you see Portugal play, I mean, we played them very tight game, actually, in the European Championships. Very good game, our men's triples. And we just got slightly shaded out on that. And it happened again, didn't it? Just by 1 point.
I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he did the shooting in Santa Susana for Portugal as well. Very good player. And it was a cracking game. It really was. 13-12, and that 13 could have been either way. I think it literally came down to last ball. I think, if I can remember rightly, it came down to a shot, and it happened, and that was it. It was a shot. You hit, you win, you miss, you lose. It was one of those, and could have gone either way.
Yeah. But we're still sitting pretty, isn't he, Kai, at that point? I mean, when you play these 5 rounds of Swiss, you're looking for a minimum of 3 wins. And generally, unless you're very unlucky, three's enough to get you through, isn't it? Although, as you can probably just see the final Swiss ranking, I think there was one team that did end up, Turkey, on just the 3 wins, fell into 6th place. But moving on to that round 4 then, we turned up and we had quite a interesting game, again against a team who I personally feel have improved a lot over recent years, and that's Poland,
It was a funny game, and Kai won't mind me saying it. We talked a lot about it afterwards, and Kai was pretty awful in that game. Didn't play well at all, and unlike Kai, it was his pointing that really let him down. He was winning an end, and then he was pointing, and it just wasn't good enough. His first ball, and as you know, singles, you can't afford to waste a ball. Played very poorly, wasn't hitting like he does. If he was hitting, he wasn't hanging around. It was just one of those games. So that really put the pressure on then, obviously, because he sat on 2-2.
Yeah, and how many times have we seen England teams in those situations where you're in that final crunch game, and that's tough, isn't it, Gareth? I mean, you've got to have a lot of resilience and self-belief,
especially
and confidence.
In singles.
Yeah,
I think especially in singles. So a lot of the time you see people in singles, it's the pressure and coming into that 2 wins, 2 losses, so into 5th game. But Kai was kind of like, well, it's down to me, isn't it? I'm in control of my own fate here. And that's all he knew. He's got his coach at the side if needed, but another great win. It was a good game, and 13-2, and the score reflects what this game was, if I'm being honest.
We all have these unofficial lists of levels of federations where they fit in. Are they top tier? Are they middle tier? Are they lower tier? I've always had the Swiss down as pretty much top tier. Consistently over the years, you always see them, don't you, competing in the final stages of.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interesting things about the teams Kai played. He played Switzerland, great team. He played Poland, it's no mean feat, playing them. Portugal, I think, a top-tier team nowadays. He played Germany, definitely top tier. And he played Turkey, another good up-and-coming team. So not an easy draw by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and what that meant, of course, is the defeats of Turkey and Switzerland put them down into the Nations Cup. I mean, particularly that Switzerland result. But the other teams, as you've just listed them, all of them made it into that top 16. So that's very, very good. And if you look at the Buchholz 14, it's not the highest, but it's still just
one
under an average of 3. Your opponents are winning. Yeah. So even that Turkish guys I just mentioned, he came 17th and still won 3 games, right?
Yeah.
So and the worst team you played won 2. So and you're beating them in the final game. So that's a really good record. And we qualify, or Kai qualifies in 10th position. And then we came on to the real deal, didn't we? Which was the knockout stages. And England took on Finland. We we won that game 13-8. What do you remember about that game, Gareth?
It was just a game, if I'm being honest. It was great to win. He played well and he won. It was nothing spectacular, just did the job.
Yeah, a run-of-the-mill game, run-of-the-mill win. I mean, my memory is he was pretty much in control throughout the game. But I think as a nation, Finland are also, they can be very competitive as well. And I'm sure they were pleased, along with Estonia, to make that knockout stage of this championship. And then, of course, what happened next? We got the real plum game, didn't we, against Spain, against that superb player. What was the thinking? What was the discussion just coming into that game? Apart from probably telling Kai, look, one more win and you're in a medal position.
To be honest, I'd go to the mindset that it's none of my business, almost.
Yeah.
If Kai wants to come over, as he did a couple of times, and chinwag with me, and when we did chinwag, me and him were joking about funny things on the internet, and the last thing on his mind was the game in our conversation. He's got a coach and people like Dean with him. There was no pressure on him from us. He knew it was going to be tough. He knew he's going to be on the show terrains, and we knew that 99.9% of the crowd's going to be Spanish and want him to lose. So let's just go out there and do what we know he can do.
And what was that atmosphere like just as that game started?
There was 2 trains, 1 and 2, and they were streaming on number 1. And we're on number 2. And it was a case of, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I just said, look, can I stream it? And he was like, yeah, no worries, Gareth, go stream it. So that was fantastic. And I managed to set the camera up about 30 seconds before the game started. Got myself out of the way. Dean was able to join on the coach's side of it as well. Obviously, he wasn't playing, so Dean sat with Rowley, and the commentary is history, really, isn't it? I try and keep it clean, and I think 99.9% of it was clean, but it was very excitable and one of the highlights of my petanque life.
I've got to say, Gareth, I was very jealous of you witnessing that firsthand, and maybe I should stay away from these tournaments because I also missed those victories in Holland that time in the women's and the men's doubles, wasn't it? It was Matt and Jack and Hannah and Alex. So apart from when we had that incredibly, very memorable for me, winning the Espoirs when Sammy Ogles, or Thatcher, she was there, won the shooting, I've actually not been present when the medals have been won. So,
as you know, you're trying to stream and you're trying to fill blanks in the game. Not that there was many blanks in the game. It was a fantastic game. The Spanish gentleman didn't play as well as he knows he could play. Kai played more or less perfect ball. I did say at the time me rear end was doing the 50p 20p. It was so excitable, so nervous, all those emotions roll into one. And if you get a chance to watch it back, I know it's come off on Facebook feed at the moment, and we'll get it back up on YouTube. But one of my highlights was from the Spanish stream, and you can see me in the background streaming down the opposite end of mine. And that last ball went on, and it was Kai's reaction. Dean ran on. Rowley walked on. Rowley's not going to run anywhere. Missed the call. Congratulated Kai. And I run on like an absolute fanboy. And Kai picked me up in the air and threw me around. And I've experienced it twice. I had it with Sarah in the shooting when she beat the world champion to guarantee a medal in Turkey. I got quite emotional then, and I got quite emotional this time.
Understandably so. We've never won a singles medal in seniors, have we? Never. So for me, like you say, the images of Kai when he made that final ball count were switching on iconic as far as English petanque's concerned.
Perfect end, wasn't it? Perfect end. Spanish gentleman pointed, won the end previous through the jack, and Jack went not in a legal position. Kai put it right in the middle of the train because he wanted 3 carrows, and exactly what he did. Point, carry, point, carry, point, carry. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly goes down to one of the most amazing things we've seen on a pitch with English players over recent times, particularly taking on the local favourite in front of partisan crowd.
That made it even more special.
It did. Although I couldn't really tell from the stream, but the crowd seemed pretty respectful throughout that. Was that
they were pretty good. It wasn't America in the Ryder Cup or anything like that. It was very respectful. They want their player to win. By default, they want our player to lose, but it was done respectfully.
I think we're going to be talking about this for some time, and it's all about now taking the energy out of that fantastic result and putting it into the tournaments to come, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm sure the players will take a lot of adrenaline out of that, what we achieved there.
Definitely.
Talking about it now, my adrenaline's flowing again, Gareth. It was brilliant. It really was something else. That. Anyway, let's just get back to probably a quicker run through of the rest of the results.
He lost in the semi-finals to Italy.
I beg your pardon. Yeah, sorry. That is true. Now that was against Chiapello, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now he's a wonderful player. He's part of that Italian men's triples world championship winning team. You know, the one that won in Dijon. What a game that was, by the way. If you ever want to watch a fantastic game of balls, that game against Madagascar in that final, that's an absolutely brilliant game of ball on a very, very tough surface. And he is a superb player. And he didn't get outclassed too much, did he? In that,
no,
really? It was just
and that's what I'm saying. It was 13-8, and he was just a little bit better. But it wasn't leaps and bounds better. It didn't get smashed. He just got beaten by a better player.
That's right. Right. So let's just move on for the other tournament. That was the
bit more brief.
Really fantastic achievement. So I thought we'd prioritise that first. Let's have a quick look at the doubles. So we had Kai and Dean playing in that. They played together a lot, haven't they? They clearly dominated in our own qualification process in England. They're a naturally strong partnership for sure.
Yeah.
So we had I would say is a relatively benign start with a victory over Bulgaria, 13-5. Then we played Germany, and like I was saying earlier on, Germany is one hell of a competitor when you take them on, and we never really got going in that game and suffered a third.
Germany played fantastic. We didn't play particularly well, but the interesting thing with that is the game before that, the way the order ran, Kai had just put in one of the game of his life against Germany.
Yeah.
And then when literally came off the train, went back on the train and had to play him again. A very weird sort of like freak thing that does happen, but very rarely. Germany went fantastic, very much like the reverse of the singles game.
Yeah, and then we got a game against Finland.
Yes, we won that game.
Yeah. And then 2 wins, 1 against. We then get this game against our friends from Holland. Now, again, another nation that I have to say over the years I can't recall us defeating too much. I remember when we were in China and the triples, and we did beat the women's team in the cadrage that put us through to the main competition into the top 16. But I don't recall us winning
bronze
too much.
Medalist in the triples last year. Silver medalist in the women's the year before. They're a very good nation. 10 years ago, I'll probably put them mid-tier, but I definitely think, if not quite the top tier, they're the top end of that mid-tier, definitely now.
And there, unfortunately, in the time game, it just went wrong for us at the end, that game, didn't it?
It was really interesting. You say it went wrong at the end. For me, it probably went wrong in the middle. We started well, then massively went off. Netherlands picked up a considerable lead. We came back into it, so we could have won it. And then a bad end in the last end. But yeah, it was one of them, could have gone either way. The boys walked away from it a little bit on the disappointed side.
Yeah. And then I'm going to say this, Gareth, because, we can be honest about things, can't we? We suffered a real setback in that final crunch game, didn't we, against Guernsey? Yeah.
The winner of that goes through. And I'll lie if I wasn't pleased with the draw. Could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah.
We didn't play great, but we didn't play badly. Guernsey had the game of their life, and fair play to them. They played very, very well. Their shooter was, you would have loved it. He dropped about 4 meters short and was carrying everything. And the train, he even said afterwards, any other more technical train, I wouldn't have stood a chance. No. I don't want to be negative, and I try not to be, but it was sort of like, you got beaten by little old Guernsey and all this. I was like, yeah, you played better, you won. We're not some big nation that thinks we deserve things or anything like that. We played a game of pétanque and they were better on that game. And that's it.
Yeah. But, of course, the price of not winning that final crunch game, it means you drop down into the Nations Cup. And, well, we went on a journey on that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
We got the other island in the Channel Islands, didn't we? Jersey.
Yeah, we did.
In that game, and that ended up as Fanny, didn't it, in that first game? Then
we play Ireland.
In that, another Fanny.
Another Fanny.
Yeah. So the boys were taking out their sort of
our neighbours
disappointment, yeah, on the teams in the Nations Cup. And then we ended up in that final, didn't we, against Poland? Did we play Turkey first, just in the semi-final? I think we did, didn't we? England.
Yeah, we played Turkey and beat them 13-10.
That's it.
And then we played Poland in the final and lost 13-12 after, I think we were about 8 or 9-0 up, something like that.
At the end of the day, Gareth, we don't go to these tournaments, do we, to play in the Nations Cup? But if we fall into the Nations Cup, then it's a sign of the, spirit of the team that they can then treat that as still an important thing to see through to the end, and that's what they did.
Before we went, me and the boys had a chat, and top 16 was the minimum they wanted to achieve, and they were very disappointed to be in the Nations Cup, but if they're in it, they're going to try and win it, and they got to a final, silver medal in the Nations Cup. They're still going to walk away from that a bit disappointed, but they respected the competition that they were in.
Correct, which is what you always need to do. Okay, let's move on to our women then. So who did we have playing the singles?
Claire Geddes was in the singles.
Claire took that on then, and so
Claire was very, very nervous, never played at this level at any age, and she was quite petrified, to be honest, going out there, very nervous. And she started off, well, you will see by the results, she really grew into the tournament. It was really nice to see her gaining her confidence, starting to feel like she belonged there, and she did quite well in the end, just missing out on qualifying for the top 16, but she did well. She really grew into it. Very proud of her.
Still got the 2 wins, didn't she? So things proved, as you say, in that Swiss. I've seen players go to these tournaments for the very first time, and it is tough, isn't it, Gareth? I mean, nothing can really prepare you for it, can it, really, about what it's going to be like,
I think she just put a lot of pressure on herself, bless her. She's obviously coached at that level with the juniors, but being out there on your own, especially in the singles, it's a lonely place to be. But she did very well, and she really grew. You can see from the results, she grew into the tournament, and I think she surprised herself, and she should be very proud of how well she did. And then just quickly, just to complete Claire's journey in this singles, she obviously then dropped down into the Nations Cup, and went on a good series of results. First of all, beat Croatia 13-4, and was massively in control of the game. Did really, really well.
Then took on our friends from Ukraine. Just managed to see that one out. Close game, wasn't it? I believe.
It was. Do you know what? Ukraine were the nicest teams to play against. I have a lot of fond memories with the Ukraine team, and I find it amazing. They talk to me about a fallen friend from the war who was a Liverpool fan, and so we always talk about Liverpool together. And they're really nice people. And that game was a fantastic game. Played in really good spirits, and could have gone either way, but Claire just managed to get it in the end.
And then, surprisingly, you see Switzerland in the Nations Cup, team you would expect to be in the main competition. But at that point, Claire's made a medal, which is, a big achievement for your first ever representation, and very pleased for her that she was able to get that. But clearly the Swiss woman was a little bit too strong and saw that out 13-7, and actually then ended up winning the Nations Cup in that final against Latvia, who must have been also pleased to have got through to that final. Latvia.
Ladies doubles with Amy, who obviously Claire knows very well, but again, 14-year-old in an adult competition. I just mirror what I said about Claire. They really grew into the tournament, did very well, just missed out on top 16, but there's other teams much more experienced and didn't do as well. So both of them did very well, and very proud of both of them.
Yeah, a very tough start for them, wasn't there, in that tournament? Managed to get that win against Greece in the third round after a couple of defeats and then beat Latvia. But then in that final round, that was against Norway.
Norway's always going to be a toughie. You know, they're a good team. But what I really liked about for the girls was going into the 5th round, they had the chance of still getting top 16.
Yeah.
When you think about it, Kai, who won a bronze in the championships, was in the same position, 2-2 going into the 5th round. So for the girls to be in that position was fantastic.
Yeah. So off they went to Nations Cup, and let's just quickly look at what happened in that. First round, we took on Slovakia. Very convincing win, that one, Gareth, 13.
They absolutely, that was probably the best game they played as a doubles. Claire pointed and Amy shot, and Amy was on fire. Claire was just putting them in there. Claire was pointing great. Amy's shooting was fantastic. Yeah, they played amazingly well in that game. One of my favourite games of the weekend, that was.
And then it was payback time to Guernsey, wasn't it, Gareth? Some of our friends for Guernsey, I'm not gloating, I'm just pointing out that after a reversal in the men's doubles, we managed to turn it around in the women's doubles, and close-ish game though, wasn't it? 13-10, but managed to get that one. And then back to Ukraine again. And
they got their revenge.
Yeah. But another medal, and another medal. A great thing for 14 years old, I think you said at the time. To actually pick
and what
that
up. What pleased me about that win, getting in a medal, was it meant every single person that went there, the 4 players, all got a medal. Every player to go there and get a medal was made me a very proud head of delegation.
Absolutely. No one went away empty-handed. On a quiz show somewhere, I can't remember, but some 70s quiz show. You're not going home empty-handed. Anyway, let's just quickly move on to the mixed doubles. I was going to say on the mixed doubles, it's always tricky for us, isn't it, making that work, because as we discussed right at the beginning, you're basically knitting together 2 teams of doubles in the different genders and then finding a mixed doubles from that, aren't you?
Like I said earlier, the male doubles and the women's doubles don't have a natural friendship. They don't dislike each other, but they're just not in the same social groups. Putting together that doubles, it's a toughie, and it can be awkward. And obviously Dean, when he plays, he's not the most natural leader a lot of the time. He's always got people like Ro with him, his brother, Jason's quite a leader. So, and Dean really we had a good chat about him stepping up to the plate and being that leader for Amy, who's obviously only a youngster, and he did it very well.
Yeah. So we had a tough draw actually to start in that against Sweden. Another team that we struggled to beat. You recall that our women, after a very good triples championship last year in San Lenoble, met them in the top 16, and unfortunately we didn't play our best game. And again, I can't recall too many occasions when we've actually beaten Sweden.
Didn't Sweden knock us out in Albertville?
Yeah, that was in the top 16. They'd beaten France, hadn't they? Early on in that. It was they were on fire actually, Sweden, at that tournament. So we had that setback, but next round managed to dig deep and just shaded out Hungary to win that. And then we got a tough draw against Monaco. Again, a team that I don't recall us beating too often, if at all.
Bulgaria.
Yeah,
Bulgaria next.
Yeah, that was a bit of a setback, losing to Bulgaria, really. To be honest about it, that effectively put us out the competition at that point, didn't it? Really, last round,
Czech Republic.
So we ended up. Where did we end up?
28th.
Okay, so we went through to the Nations Cup then, didn't we, Gareth? But we didn't get beyond the quarterfinals this time because we got edged out, unfortunately, by Greece. Now, I did talk to Dean about this game, and I think it was an incredibly long game, that one, wasn't it, Gareth, if I remember rightly?
Do you know what? I think I could have painted and watched the paint dry about 3 times. Everyone has the right to play slow if they want to play slow. We have players in England that play slow. But every single ball was 59 seconds or over. Even just walking down the train, it was painful to watch. It wasn't an interesting game to watch, and it wasn't an interesting game to play in. It was death by 1,000 cuts. They did well to stay professional during it, to be honest. But it is what it is. And unfortunately, Greece managed to Head your sound.
So that concludes our review of Lorca 2026, the European singles, doubles and mixed doubles. I hope you enjoyed our look at that. Thanks so much, Gareth, for joining me again, and we'll be together again soon, no doubt, for another edition of Still the Show. Join us again then.